I never thought I'd have to defend my own driveway like it was some kind of battlefield. But here we are. It all started on a calm Saturday afternoon, the kind where you're just hoping to enjoy a quiet day with family. Instead, the roar of a bright red Mustang shattered the peace, tires screeching as it tore down the gravel like it was a racetrack. Behind the wheel, our neighbor Karenya, that Karen, the one who thinks every neighborhood rule is more of a suggestion. For other people, she wasn't just passing through either. She was showing off, gunning the engine, blasting music, windows down, and whipping her car around like she was starring in a Fast and Furious audition. And this wasn't the first time. Karen had made a habit of using our long family driveway as her personal runway, ignoring polite conversations, posted signs, even a warning from my dad. She'd smirk, flip her hair, and say something like, "It's just a car, relax." But it wasn't just a car. We've got little kids running around, pets, elderly family who can barely step outside without worrying about being startled, or, worse, it wasn't just annoying anymore, it was dangerous. And the thing about Karen, the more you ask her to stop, the more she cranks it up. It was like she wanted us to snap. So, after one too many tire marks and a close call involving my niece and our dog, I decided to get a little creative. No yelling, no confrontation, just a bit of harmless deterrence. That's when the idea hit me: a boulder. Not huge enough to hurt anyone, but just big enough to make a Mustang think twice. I placed it right where she loved to whip that wheel, and sure enough, the next morning she came roaring down that same path, music blasting, sunglasses on, completely unaware of what was waiting just around the bend. Now, before we get to what happened when Karen hit that bend, let me take a step back and give you the full picture, because this wasn't just about one loud car or a single bad day. This had been building up for months. When Karen moved in, across the street, we honestly tried to be good neighbors. Brought her cookies, invited her to a few barbecues, waved every time we passed by. But from the start, it felt like she saw our quiet street as her personal playground. She was always flashy new outfits, loud music, and of course, that shiny red Mustang. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for people enjoying their stuff. But the way she handled it was pure drama. She'd race up and down the road, windows open, sometimes even FaceTiming while driving. Yeah, FaceTiming. I caught her once mid-call, laughing, speeding down the drive like she was in a movie. We tried being polite. My dad had a calm chat with her, just asking if she could stop using our driveway like a shortcut. She smiled, nodded, and then did the exact same thing the next day, only faster. My mom even tried blocking it with cones once, but Karen just moved them like they were part of some obstacle course. She clearly thought this was all a joke. The real tipping point came one evening when my younger cousin was out front riding her scooter. Karen whipped around the bend so fast that she missed hitting her by maybe 2 feet. 2 feet? That was the last straw for me. If words didn't work, then maybe a little stone-cold reminder would. That night, I walked down the drive and picked the perfect spot just past the corner where she always accelerated. I didn't want to damage her car, just make her stop. The boulder wasn't huge, but it was heavy, solid, and noticeable. Okay, if you were paying attention. But here's the thinker and never paid attention. And the next morning, true to form, that Mustang came flying down the hill. And what happened next is something none of us will ever forget. The sound hit first metal against stone. A sharp grind followed by a sudden silence. That silence said everything. I didn't run out right away. I wanted to, believe me, but I stayed hidden behind the porch, heart pounding like I'd just committed some kind of crime. Seconds later, I heard her door swing open and slam shut. Then came the yelling. Karen's voice cut through the morning like a buzzsaw. Who put a rock in the middle of the driveway? She shouted, loud enough to wake the neighbors. And probably half the county. She was pacing around her Mustang, hands in the air, looking at the scrape on the side panel like someone had personally attacked her. But here's where things got even more twisted. My uncle, who lives in the guest house behind us, stepped outside to see what the noise was about. Now, he's usually the most easygoing guy in the family, but the second he saw Karen and what happened, he just crossed his arms and said, "Maybe the rock didn't move. Maybe you did. Karen lost it. This is your driveway. Why would there be a rock in the middle of it? Are you people trying to sabotage me?" She looked around like we were all part of some conspiracy. Honestly, I think part of her believed. At that point, my cousin came out too, and her face just went pale when she saw the scratch on the Mustang. She whispered, "She's going to blow this way out of proportion," and she wasn't wrong. Karen was already on her phone, pacing in circles, taking photos, and threatening to report this. To who? The HOA, the police, the mayor. But the more interesting part, she never once asked why the rock was there. Not once did she stop to think that maybe she'd pushed things too far. To her, we were the problem. And that's what made this whole thing bigger than just a scratched car. This was turning into a neighborhood standoff, one that had been simmering for months. And now, finally, it was about to boil over. Karen didn't calm down. If anything, she got louder. She kept pacing back and forth, waving her phone around like she was filming some courtroom drama. She claimed she had video evidence of the trap we set, though we all knew she never saw the boulder coming. Meanwhile, the Mustang just sat. Their front wheels slightly tilted, side panel dented and scraped from where it clipped the rock. The whole scene looked like something straight out of a soap opera. And neighbors started stepping out onto their porches, watching it unfold like it was free entertainment. Then she did what we all feared. She called the cops. We weren't worried, because we'd done anything wrong. The boulder was on our property, and it wasn't hidden or disguised. But Karen had a way of twisting stories to make herself look like the victim. She was already ranting on the phone about how we endangered her safety, how we damaged her car on purpose, and how she was being harassed, all while completely ignoring the months of reckless driving, the close calls, the complaints she never listened to. As we stood there, watching her spin this whole thing into a circus, a few neighbors quietly started whispering to each other. Turns out, we weren't the only ones who'd had issues with Karen. One family said she'd almost backed into their mailbox twice. Another said she once sped past their kid's lemonade stand without even slowing down. Everyone had a story. None of us had spoken up until now. But even with people starting to see the pattern, that didn't make what was coming any easier. When the police finally pulled up, the whole block went still. Karen rushed over to them, voice shaky but dramatic, pointing at the boulder like it was some kind of weapon. The officer nodded, took some notes, and started walking toward us. My stomach dropped, because this wasn't just about a Mustang anymore. It wasn't just about a rock in a driveway. This was about who was really in the wrong and what it would cost to finally make that clear. The officer walked up slowly, calm but serious. He asked if we knew anything about the rock. My dad stepped forward first, saying, "It's our property. We put it there to keep delivery trucks from driving on the grass." Technically, true, it had been used that way once. The officer nodded, glanced back at the boulder, then turned to Karen, who was still pacing near her Mustang like it had been totaled in a demolition derby. Just when we thought things might start settling, Karen dropped her bombshells. She said she had footage from her home security camera showing us rolling the rock into place the night before. I felt my chest tighten. I had no idea she had a camera that reached that far. She waved her phone like it was proof of some grand setup. They planned this, she insisted. They trapped me? The officer looked at us, then asked, "Is that true?" Before we could say a word, another voice cut in from across the street. It was Mr. Patel, one of the older neighbors, usually quiet, always keeping to himself. But this time, he had something to say. "Officer," he said, "you might want to look at my footage, too." Everyone turned. Turns out, Mr. Patel had installed new security cameras just last month after a series of package thefts. His cameras covered the entire street, including the bend in our driveway. And apparently, they had recorded much more than just a rock being moved. He promised the footage would show exactly how Karen had been speeding for weeks, nearly hitting kids, and ignoring every posted sign. Karen went pale. For the first time, she stopped talking. Her whole body stiffened, eyes darting between us and Mr. Patel like the walls were closing in. The officer raised an eyebrow, clearly interested. "All right," he said, "I think I'll need to see both videos." The energy shifted. What started as Karen trying to play the victim had suddenly turned into something much bigger, something she clearly didn't expect. Now it wasn't just her word against ours. The truth was about to be revealed on camera. And what came next, none of us were ready for. About 20 minutes later, we were all standing in Mr. Patel's living room, crowded around his TV as he pulled up the footage. Karen had her arms crossed tight, trying to act unfazed, but you could tell she was sweating underneath.